am Dapana Andreas Kayoko, and I am the host of this platform, the Nation Builders Podcast. Welcome to yet another episode. We are officially on episode 2. Your girl says she'll be putting out the episodes, and they are coming. They are coming. I am keep. So today we're still on this number. We are on chapter 1 officially of the review for the Nation, for the Hey You Liberator book, written by yours truly. So we're going to go into chapter 1. So just to give an overview of the chapter before I kind of like start unpacking some of the themes that are in there. So the chapter takes place, it starts off with Helena, one of the main characters, in her apartment. And she's having a bad dream, basically. That's how the book starts off. She's lying in bed and she's having a bad dream. She's being attacked by something, and she fights it off. She prays for help. Nothing is happening. And when she finally then kind of like surrenders to the attack, that's when she wakes up. And so thereafter, she goes into her bathroom, and before she goes into the bathroom, she kind of like looks out of her bedroom window. So she lives in the city center, in Independence Avenue to be specific. So if you're familiar with Independence Avenue, there's this fancy apartment complex called 727 on Independence Avenue. So she's renting a 1-bedroom flat there, against her parents' wishes, because like I said in the last episode, the parents live in Vanaeda. She's got her own bedroom there, but then she just felt like since she's consulting, it makes more sense to have her own space and come and go as she feels like, typical of any young Namibian, right? The young adults can relate to this. So anyway, so she looks out of her apartment window, and it's facing the main road, Independence Avenue, and it's basically opposite the City of Windhoek offices. And so she stares at the offices, and then she sees this statue of this German colonizer, Kurt, and she gets the shock of her life because the statue looks like the individual that was attacking her. So she was basically being attacked by like a white guy, a dirty white guy, and this particular statue looked like a younger version of or an older version of the thing that was attacking her, because at that particular point she felt like she was under a demonic attack. If you're a Christian, you understand this type of talk, but yes. And so then she gets the shock of her life, and then she decides that no, actually, let me not get my head into the clouds. She was going to wait until she gets to talk to her mom about the dream, hoping to get an interpretation. And then she basically, decides to get ready for the day. So because the city was alive, people were busy rushing off, dropping their children off to school and the likes. And so she goes to take a shower, and then she looks in the mirror, and she realizes that she's got marks all over her body where the attack was taking place, because this thing was kind of like pumping on her chest, and it felt like it was killing her. And so she's shocked that the dream manifested into reality. Anyway, she gets ready for the day and then goes to sit at the coffee shop to wait for her best friend, Andiba. And so on the way down, she actually meets the security guards, and she greets him in their vernacular, which is a Shuambo. They exchange greetings, and then she makes her way to the coffee shop, which again, if you're familiar with Independence Avenue, it's the 727 Monaco coffee shop. So she goes to sit at her favorite corner table, and then she has her coffee while she's waiting for her best friend, Andiba, because they have a little routine that they've kept up for years, where they basically have breakfast together before they both start off with their days. So that's this friend arrives. I'm just trying to rush through the scene before I go in detail by detail to kind of like have a little bit more of a deep conversation on some of the themes that are running across the scene. So her friend arrives, and she basically narrates her dream to her friend. Now, mind you, Andiba, who, like we said last time, is the Prime Minister's son, Andiba is agnostic. He basically doesn't believe in God. He believes that what you put out in the universe is what you're going to get back. And Helena is a Christian, born again Christian. She believes in Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, God, the Trinity, all of that. And Andiba, on the other hand, is just like, listen, he's not so much into the Scientology things. He's more like, it's the universe, and what you put out in the universe is going to come back to you. So he's quite agnostic in that regard. I'm not going to go into details about what it means to be agnostic, maybe later on in life, but right now that's not the point. But that's Andiba's worldview. So despite being best friends, they have this different worldviews in terms of, faith and, how they view the world. And so Helena tells Andiba, her dream and how this thing ended up looking like the statue of Kurt that is at City of Windhoek. Ooh, my mic almost dropped. And, she's telling him the story, but she can see that he's not really buying into it. And so basically the chapter ends with them kind of like agreeing to disagree on what her dream was about, right? And that's how the chapter ends. Now, let me catch my breath. Now that I've rushed through the scene, time to do a little bit of promo, guys. Guys, I am still giving away 3 books per episode. So if you want a copy of this book to read what I just rushed through for yourself, contact me. Yeah, my number will be in the details somewhere wherever I post this. Contact me. Number 1, get yourself a copy of the book. Buy it. It's $200. It's $200 only. Get yourself a copy of the book. If you already have a copy of the book, give it as a gift to somebody. That's 1. Number 2, back to the promo. 3 lucky winners can get this book for free. You can keep it, you can give it away, it's up to you. You can donate it to school. In fact, my dream is that somebody will just go like, Raquel, here is X thousand amount of money, donate the books to a school, give high schoolers the books, right? That's just like, I'm just like somebody with thousands, it's just like, listen, give how many books to how many schools, because I would really love to have young people get, by young people I mean high schoolers, especially from grade 10 to 12, to get their hands on this little number. But I'm giving away 3 copies. All you need to do is share my video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the videos, and then show me the evidence and say, hey, I've shared the video to 10 people. Yeah, I said to 10 people. I've shared it with 10 people. These are the shares. And I have subscribed to your YouTube channel. This is the evidence. And I have commented to your on your video. I've commented. I said something. I said your smile is nice for your say something to me, or engage the characters, engage the themes, but it would be so lovely if you can just get a copy of the book, so that when I do the chapter reviews, we are kind of on the same page and you're not hearing the story afresh. So back to the story. All right, so I've given you the scene. It's this scene that I just unpacked now. This girl, bedroom, the statue, the best friend, different worldviews. Now I'm going to go into some of the themes. So let's first interrogate the dream, all right? In Helena's dream, you can already see that what is strongly coming out is the fact that the thing that was attacking her, the demon, was a white guy. And so already that's an oddity in itself. So she's being attacked by a white guy who ends up looking like a younger version of a statue that is at the City of Windhoek. Now within that, we can see threads of sort of colonial remnants in terms of memory culture. We can see that being woven into the storyline bit by bit. And so the later on towards the end of the chapter, matter of fact, she goes into this. In fact, in the dream, actually, when she's having the dream, she's ranting and saying, oh Lord, am I really going to die at the hands of a white guy? It kind of invokes that emotion of like, for the longest time, Black people, Black history is there to show you the evidence, right? Black people have suffered at the hands of white people, whether it's slavery, whether it's apartheid, whether it's even right now in our present day where there's this economic disparity. It just seems like Black people tend to be the underdogs a lot of times. But then the idea but you can see that the author is trying to put this message across that there are remnants of colonization. Even, it's even featuring in the dream of this young lady And there's the memory culture around Windhoek, especially in its memorabilia, is also making an entrance, where you see that now suddenly this thing that was attacking her is looking like a younger version of this colonizer. So it just goes to show you. And then she herself goes, am I really going to die at the hands of this white guy? Like, is this really my life? Is this how my life ends? It also goes to show you some of the internal struggles that young people experience, not young people, Black people experience, in terms of just, you know, not so much colonization, but like white oppression, and just feeling like, you know, white people sometimes can be on top of them, if I can put it like that. Why did I think it was important to bring that out? Is because we're still living in a country that has yet to reconcile with its colonial history. We're still living in a country that is yet to reconcile with its apartheid, with the apartheid history and the remnants of it. And so I just felt like I wanted to bring that out at the start of the book to incite the conversation, because we still have the Ovaherero and Nama genocide issue unresolved. We still have, by and large, the apartheid history unengaged, the reality of just the economic disparities that we're facing today, and the fact that it can be traced more so at times to the apartheid history than it can be traced to colonization as a whole. Of course, colonization was horrible. A genocide occurred. People were wiped out. Land was confiscated. But then I feel like there's also a need to interrogate what the apartheid regime did for Black Namibians. One, obviously, it reinforced a lot of what had already happened with colonization, but truth be told, apartheid era was longer than colonization, and some of its impacts can be felt more so on an economic level. Just a lot of disparities on there, and we can do another episode outside of the book review, particularly on that issue. I'm open to that. Let's have a conversation, but I just wanted to highlight that as the theme at the start. Now, listen, I am not bashing white people. I don't have an issue against white people personally. I have a lot of white friends. I have white people in my life that I deeply respect, but when we engage in history, I think we need to be a bit factual and a bit realistic, and not allow emotions to get in the way. And so I highlight this theme in the book because I feel like a lot of young people, young Black people in Namibia, are struggling with these realities. And it's also important to also use it as an engaging tool to have a conversation with our white friends, whether they are of German descent, Afrikaner descent. It's very important to have this conversation. And that's why I thought I would spin this into the book at the very beginning of the chapter, to kind of like get the conversation started, to highlight. So she's getting attacked by this white figure who turns out to look like a younger version of a colonizer, a statue of a colonizer just outside her apartment building. So that jumps out immediately at you when you read the book. And so I've also woven in elements of faith because we live in a society that is predominantly Christian. I think the last numbers crunched, Namibians, over 90% of Namibians claim to be Christian. Now, Christianity is, split up in all sorts of, faith streams, if I can call them that. You've got the more traditional Christian faith, which is now the Catholic churches, the Lutheran churches, the Elsing churches, and then you've got the more contemporary movements of faith, the Pentecostal movements, and others. But Helena, in this particular case, she is Pentecostal. She's born again. She believes in Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, the Trinity. And her parents' generation are from the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Namibia. They're from Elsen, so they're more traditional. They go to a traditional church, but you can still see that at her weakest moment, where she's being attacked, she resolves to allow her mother to interpret the dream for her, because she's struggling with it. Because she's like, I don't understand what this dream must have meant. Because as a Pentecostal Christian, a born-again Christian, she identifies the attack as a demonic attack. And so, but then she wants to go to her mother, who is from the Lutheran Church, and they don't really preach about demonic attacks, spiritual warfare that much, but she's trusting her mother to interpret this event for her. I wanted to put that in there to again incite the conversation on religion, the Christian faith, interrogate our faith, building on the reality of the fact that the Christian faith came to Namibia through white missionaries. So just building from what colonization brought wasn't, yes, I spoke about the genocide, I spoke about apartheid, but the reality is also that we are Christian today because missionaries from the Finlands decided to come to this country, and how we as Namibians, our in terms of our societal values, a lot of it is woven in the Christian faith. And so I also wanted to bring this tension alive that often exists between the Pentecostal Christian faith belief versus the more traditional churches and sort of their way of looking at the Christian belief system. So I brought it into the storyline through the relationship between Helena and her mother, whereas even though she's young and is more in the Pentecostal movement, she still strongly trusts her mother, who is from the Lutheran Church, to interpret her dream. And this is really, again, to demystify this notion that, one, to demystify, and two, to challenge the reality that there tends to be tensions between these two faith streams, to the point where we've actually seen families torn apart in our society because of this different belief systems. We've actually seen, Shivambo, there's a saying called Oshiveva. The Oshiveva churches are not the Pentecostal churches, right? How Oshiveva churches have been used as tools to break families apart. We've seen, young people being told by their men of God and women to stay away from relatives because of this and that. But we've also seen parents really disowning their children because their children are Shivevas, So I wanted to also bring that struggle out in the storyline, again, to have a conversation and to engage the reality that the family structure in Namibia is being deconstructed by faith. It's uncomfortable, it's unpopular, but faith has been one of those instruments in our society that has really eroded the family structure. And I wanted to also bring that out, but then I wanted to put a positive spin to it and kind of show how, despite believing in God in different ways, there is room to still strengthen the family unit. And later on, as we continue in the storyline, we're going to engage that particular theme a bit more thoroughly. I'm laying out the themes because you'll start to see them playing out across the different chapters as we review the book. But I just thought, let's have this conversation on faith, and unpack the and have an honest conversation on the reality of the fact that while faith could build, it's also really bringing a lot of devastation across different families in our societies. All right, another theme that I wanted us to also interrogate is how life is for the average young adult in Namibia. So Helena lives in this expensive apartment complex in the city center. Her reasons are that, being in that space means that she has access to CBD, and she can run in and out of meetings in coffee shops or office buildings, as opposed to having to take a cab all the time to come to town or the likes. But the reality of the matter is, keep in mind, this is a girl who struggled to get a job for a very long time, right? And she's watched her peers advancing in life. And so when she eventually gets a job, her first move, maybe it was not wise according to her parents, but her first move is almost to prove a point that I've also made it in life. I've also made it in life. I can afford to live in a fancy apartment complex. So the imagery in that is kind of like what we see a lot in our society today, where young people one, struggle so much to the point where when they do eventually get a job, they sometimes make the most unsound financial decisions. So there's going to be a little bit of finance talk also coming out through the book. And so tend to make some unwise decisions, get the most expensive car, or get to live in a very expensive place, while you could just stay in Vanaida with your parents again. But then the question is also, in as much as you'd want to stay at home, there's also the reality of wanting your freedom as a young adult. And also, this is kind of like the trend world over. You get a job, you get your own place, you do your own thing. What are the financial implications? Are you wasting, or are you actually starting to build your life? And I mean, this is a place where she's paying about 7K per month as a consultant who is relying on contracts. You don't have a steady income. So contracts could run out anytime, but she still makes that decision to go and live at this place. And in this way, I feel like it's a reflection of quite a lot of our peers. We tend to get into the space, into making some of these decisions. And later on, when we get to unpack a little bit more about her life across the book, I think what will happen is we'll start to see that maybe she was wise, maybe she wasn't. But yeah, I thought I also bring in a theme on financial literacy, financial wisdom, but just kind of like bringing this picture together about what usually happens with the average young Namibian when they get a job. Then they want to be independent. But then the reality is also that there's also those young Namibians who still choose to be at home, and kind of like, what are some of their pros and cons? I thought that would be a nice thing to converse around. All right, so then another theme also that kind of comes out is I want to go to the scene where Helena and Andimba sit down. So she's waiting for her best friend, right? The prime minister's son, who doesn't want anything to do with his father's business. He's a pro bono human rights lawyer who got funding from Europeans, and he's basically doing pro bono work on human rights related cases. Great. So Andimba comes. So they have this tradition of meeting for coffee every morning. So her friend arrives and they sit down for coffee, and she tells the friend the dream. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Her friend is agnostic. So basically, he doesn't believe in God, but he believes in the universe. He believes that what you put out in the universe is what you're going to get back. It's what you're going to get back. The energy you put out is what's going to come back at you. He believes that if you work hard, things are going to go right for you. And again, it's kind of, again, going back to the whole faith theme that I introduced earlier on. Now, initially, I was talking about how faith streams, traditional versus Pentecostal or contemporary faith belief systems, versus now you've got yet another version of a faith stream, but it's not the Christian faith, because it's a worldview at the end of it. Maybe worldview is the more appropriate word. So his worldview is one of, I don't believe in God. I don't even identify as an atheist, but I believe in the universe. Let the universe, what will be, will be. Let the universe do what it wants to do. If you put out this, you're going to get this, tit for tat. If you put this out, you're going to get this back. The reason why I thought that's also important to interrogate is because that's the reality of kind of like some of the worldviews that a lot of young people are holding in today's society, where it's like, leave things to chance, the universe will sort you out, strongly believing in energies and let the energies speak for you, all sorts of colorful stuff. Maybe I'm being biased. So the friend is agnostic. So she tells him the dream. In their friendship, I'm also introducing the fact that you can be friends with people who have different worldviews. In their friendship, you get to see that, and they've been friends since primary school. You get to see that they've been able to withstand some of those tensions because of their worldviews. And she is so comfortable with a friend that she tells the friend the dream that she had, or the attack that she had in her dream. And the friend asks, so what was it about the dream that your Jesus could not save you? And she gets defensive, and she's like, no, you can't claim that my Jesus didn't save me. Because she said, yeah, I even prayed and I called out to God to save me. And then I woke up when I surrendered myself to this thing to kill me. And so she's like, so why didn't your Jesus save you? Ooh, why didn't your Jesus save you? And so then she gets defensive and she's like, no, you can't claim he didn't save me, because I am yet to talk to mom about it. And by the way, waking up in itself is being saved. So she spins it like so. But the point I wanted to make with that, and again, the book is open to interpretation. If you've read it, we can engage, we can debate. I'm just telling you where my mind was at. The point I wanted to make with that is the reality of the fact that a lot of people claim to not be Christian because, oh, if God is who he says he is, why does he not do away with all evil then? Why do good people suffer? You know, some of these talks that are in society out there. So I wanted to also interrogate that, because this is how people talk, right? So why didn't your Jesus save you? Why? And she's like, no, but he did save me. I woke up, you know. So that's kind of how that chapter ends. It ends with them basically agreeing to disagree. Listen, in this review, I'm not going to tell you word for word what they said. Read it, get the book, buy it for $200, or share my video with 10 people, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then you get to win a free copy. Or otherwise, buy it, read it for yourself. But anyway, so those are some of the themes I wanted to. So the story basically ends with them agreeing to disagree. Not the story, the chapter, agreeing to disagree. They have their coffee, they do their thing, they go their separate ways. Chapter 1. So those are the themes that are prevalent in chapter 1, but the deeper you read the book, you actually get to realize that these themes are playing across the different chapters. There are other themes that are in other chapters as well. We'll unpack them when I do other episodes, but that is that on chapter 1. So what did we talk about, to summarize? So in chapter 1, you'll get to see themes about our colonial history, apartheid history. You get to see themes about religion. You get to see themes about adulting. Predominantly, those 4 themes are already introduced in chapter 1 of the book. And the idea is I wanted to put out a piece of writing that anybody that is Namibian or African or just any human being really can relate to. It's politics, it's societal issues, and we're doing book reviews on this platform. And that is pretty much what I tried to also capture in the book. The idea is I wanted to put out a book series that will complement the platform, just to introduce the platform, to get the platform going. So the idea was really to talk about stuff that later on I will talk about with other guests. It's issues of faith, it's issues of politics, it's issues of our history, all things society. And then also I will interrogate books, I will review books that have similar themes as well. Books that are political, books that have to do with societal issues, books that have to do with faith and religion, because these are things that I'm interested in. So that's kind of the idea behind the book reviews. So I thought, let me first start off by interrogating my own little number that I wrote with the intention of rolling out on this platform, besides obviously selling and getting money. But yes, that is pretty much the review of chapter 1 of the book. I'm so tempted to do the review of chapter 2, because just as I was talking, I'm getting quite excited, but no, I'm not going to play myself like that. We will do chapter 2 in the next episode, which will be next week, right? Week by week, we will do a chapter. But yeah, if anything, what do I want you to take away from this review? One, obviously, I want you to get the book. That's most important. Whether you buy it or you win it, it's up to you, really. But what I do want you to take away from this particular episode is to reflect on where we come from in terms of our colonial history, in terms of the apartheid history. It's 34 years post-independence, how far we've come, where we're at as a country. The second thing also, if you are a believer of any sort, or if you're not a believer like the Andibas who are agnostic, or if you are a traditional believer from the Lutheran Church, reflect on how can you reconcile with other Namibians that have different worldviews to yourself. How can you reconcile with somebody from an Oshiveva church? How can you reconcile with somebody who believes in the universe and the energy? And what would that kind of reconciliation look like then for you? And then also, if you're a young adult, whether you just started working or whether you've been working for some time. What are some of the honest conversations you need to have in terms of your financial health? Was it really worth it renting that expensive place where you're staying? Or was it really worth it staying at home in the interest of I'm saving money? How's your mental health? For example. Like just reflect on some of those. I'm just trying to trigger questions to get us to have a conversation, because like I say, this is election year. And perhaps when you are going canvassing the different candidates, some of the things you want to look out for is, what will I get in terms of my economic stance as a young person? Can I see myself getting a job? Can I see myself getting better opportunities? What do I stand to get in terms of this party's political ideology? Do I necessarily buy into their ideology? Is it people-centered? Is it welfare of the state centered? Like, what am I getting in exchange for my vote? And not just also that, like, what are some of the honest conversation we need to have with all the generations in terms of facilitating intergenerational dialogue? What are some of the conversations we need to have in terms of our history, in terms of our societal worldviews, in terms of our lifestyles? If I have triggered your thought, listen, engage me in the comments. I'd like to know. What is on your mind as you heard me talking about some of the themes that are prevalent in just chapter 1 of this book? What comes to your mind? What do you want to hear? What do you want to see happen in society? Or maybe share your story. What were some of the challenges you are facing with our history? What are some of the issues you face today when you engage with white Namibians, whether they be of German descent or Afrikaner descent? How challenging is that for you? What are some of the issues you face as families torn apart by churches and belief systems? And how can reconciliation look like? What are some of the issues you face as a young person that is going to the polls in November and you are uncertain about what to vote for? Or how are people receiving you when you walk through life believing that energies are what makes things happen? Let's talk, let's have a conversation. Because when you're going to look at the different political party manifestos, and I'm going on this platform, I'm going to unpack the different manifestos one by one. Yeah. So political parties, if you're watching this, anybody from political parties, I will be coming for your manifestos. I would want us to have a conversation about your manifestos on this platform. I might invite some people to talk with me. We'll be talking about the different political party manifestos. But I want you to be prepared, right? Be prepared. The polls saying, what are the analysts saying? What are the people on the ground saying? What are the political parties saying? So that when we do dive into Namibian politics, we kind of know along which lines we can engage. So that's one thing that I want you to do. And also another thing I wanted to comment on is, please, please, please follow the ECN, follow the Electoral Commission of Namibia's page. Keep your eyes on their updates in terms of the registration dates for your voter cards. Guys, the last thing anybody wants to do is to not register to vote. Because like I already said in the previous episode, whether you like it or not, politics will affect your life, all right? It will affect your life whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not. So please register. Keep an eye on the ECN pages so that you do not miss the dates. You do not miss the registration dates, and also so that you know where you are supposed to go and register for your voter's card. Please do that, okay? In the next episode, I'm going to go a little bit more in details on that, because I really, and matter of fact, in the next episodes, even when we are busy registering, it will be in my mouth. I'll be talking about go and register, because guys, this is a very pivotal year for our country. It's very important. We're seeing so many players on the field every other day. New candidates pop up. That's also something that we can talk about later on. But I do want us to register. I do want us to participate, because even when you don't participate, decisions will be made either way. You will be represented either way. And just because we're saying you need to have 50 plus votes, to win the election, it does not mean that because you did not go and vote, you are not part of that. In fact, you are an invisible voter. You kind of voted by not voting, you said whoever wins represents me. That's what you're saying. I'm even getting a little bit upset just talking like that. If you don't vote, you are basically saying whoever wins represents me. Do you get it? That is your vote. So would you rather say, "K sera sera, let the energy take care of it"? Okay, chaps. Would you rather do that, or would you rather actually go and choose somebody in terms of a presidential candidate, or choose a party? But I would want you to actually be active instead of passive, because whether you vote actively or passively, you voted. In an ideal scenario, let's all actively vote. So I think that's that for today's episode. Have I left anything out? No, I haven't. That's that for today's episode. I'll be rolling this out on a weekly basis, like I said. Thank you so much for listening to me for the past 40 plus minutes. Yeah, let's do this again next time. That's it from me, Ndapanda Andreas Kayoko, your host for the Nation Builder podcast. See you next time for chapter 2. If you have the book, read it. If you don't have the book, get it for $200 Namibian. If you want a free book, like my pages, share it to 10. Actually, let me be clear. When you share it to 10 people and you subscribe to the YouTube channel, that's how you win. The liking is just bonus. The commenting is just bonus. But share and subscribing is how you win a book. So get yourself a copy of the book. Let's interrogate it. We've done chapter 1 of 9. So I'm going to be doing 9 videos just on this book alone. Imagine, that's how, it's a little number, ne? But the themes, you already just heard the themes for today. The themes are well packed. The themes are relatable. The themes have to do with your life, if I can put it like that. And also I'm doing this because book 2 is ready, but I need this to be out. And in book 2, which I'll release just before the elections, things are gonna get saucy. Things are gonna get very exciting. Things are gonna get very, yes. Anyway, that's it from me. See you next time.